What's up, audio music lovers? Today I'm going to show you how to build your own acoustic panels to make your studio sound great and use LED backlighting to create an awesome creative mood for your workspace. Here we go. These are the tools we need for the job. I will have the list below. Nylon easy anchors, don't spend more money on the metal ones. Stapler, JT21, T27 are perfect for the job. Please don't use your home stapler. Deck screws, 2-inch. The bits will be in the boxes. If not, make sure that you have the proper bits for the screws. Zip ties, 8 inches. 1 5/16 eye hooks. 1.5-inch nails. Knife, preferably not sharp. Hammer, drill bit 1/16 or 3/32. Tape measure, scissor, masking gloves, yoga block, or a solid square box to be able to create 90-degree angles, and 2-inch screw-in cup hooks. Here are the materials that we need. I chose 3-inch Roxul, safe and sound, because I like the density of it. I don't suggest going 1-inch or 2-inch if you have the room, if you have the ceiling height, if you have the space on your walls. I would definitely go with 3-inch so you can hit that mid-range and a little bit towards the lower frequencies. I chose 3.5-inch by 3/4 baseboard for the frame, and then also using a 1/2-inch square at the bottom to support the Roxul from sagging, because in time the Roxul will sit on the cloth and it will start to show sagging, so that will support it and it will last a long time. The amount of wood that you need depends on how many boxes you're planning to make. Since my Rockwool is 47 inches long, so that right side will be 47 inches long, and on the inside is 22 3/4. And if you choose another material, make sure you get the measurements first before you start cutting the wood. Let's chat about fabric. Some of the fabric is very reflective, like this material. They're shiny. That's something I would like to stay away from because I don't want the top end to be reflected. I'm personally going with canvas, but this is very porous, so you're going to be able to see right through it. Box is already finished on the right. It has the Roxul behind it, but as you can see, you can still see the frame. It looks cool, but I like to have a finish that you can't see the frame. So what I did is use some really cheap material on the left to make the first layer first, and then what I'll do is put the canvas on top of that first layer so you won't see the frames anymore. But again, that's gonna raise the cost of the material up a little bit, but I chose to go for that look. So, but you can find really cheap back ending for it. Now remember, if you put like a red color behind your canvas, it's gonna change the color of your canvas. So pick your color and go with it. But just remember, if you choose really porous material, you're gonna see the frame. For best results, work on a flat floor, sweep and vacuum. Make sure there's no dust and debris so you don't get it on the finish of your fabric. Quick note, make sure all the labels are either facing inside, QR codes, anything that you might think it's not a big deal is facing away from the good side. So good side facing down and nothing around it, no blemishes on the wood, because it will show through the fabric, even that little sticker over there. You want less headache? Have the lumber yard cut it for you at 1/4 a cut. I will write all the measurements below. Let's assemble our frame against a hard surface, so when we apply pressure with the drill, the frame doesn't slide. Now these guys, you're supposed to be able to drill into them without pre-drilling, but I like to pre-drill because they can crack pretty easily. Turn the block on its side. I have enough space that I'm not going to go into the floor, but again, be careful. You can put another piece of wood underneath it just to make sure that you don't drill into your floor. Line it up again right next to your wood, so You know where the center is. You can even do a quick mark with your either a pen or your screw. Good. And let's put it in a tiny bit. Flush the corner, flush the top. Make sure you're aligned all the way at the bottom. Also, hold the block tight. Give yourself enough space so in case the screw goes through, it doesn't hit your thumb. Safety first. Voila, no crack. Let's go in just a tiny bit at first. Make sure we're flushed at the bottom again. And let's go in. That's it. So make sure the screw goes in because you'll see it through the fabric. And let's go around. By keeping those 1/2-inch squares in the center, keeps the frame together. We haven't nailed them in yet, but it keeps the frame nicely together. So that side's done. Here we go on this side. As you can see, I pre-drilled before I'm gonna put it in so we don't crack the wood. Always drill slowly, little zips at a time. Don't go all the way to the end. Here we go, little zip, little zip. Also depends on how powerful your drill is. Now you see the bottom, it's turned, since this is spinning, it's turned the bottom frame in. So before I screw that, I'm gonna pull, let's bring it to the side. We're gonna pull this bottom out so it flushes. Now that the bottom is flushed, let's put this little guy in. Okay, good. All right, let's finish this side. Flush the top, press it down. Zip a couple times before you put it in. And then let's do it. There we go. Nicely done. And we gotta go on the other side, make sure that it hasn't spun out. Looks good. Pushed it in a tiny bit. It's nice and flat. Let me move it to the side. You can see it's nice and flat. Here we go, frame is done. Okay, now I'll show you how to get these guys in. Turn the frame on its side. We're gonna measure from the corner, 1 foot in, and 1/4 to the center, because remember this is a 1/2 inch. So if it's gonna be down here, the center of this is going to be 1/4 in. We already pre-drilled, so it's easy to get a nail through this frame. So line up the bottom and bring the top to line up with the hole. Drop the nail, start to press from above. It will tighten. See, I can now let it go. So we'll tighten the grip here. Move it in the tiniest amount. Make sure it's aligned. Remember, we just don't want to flush this because we don't want to see this against the fabric. So push it in a tiny bit. And the nail is sitting right there. And look at that. Done. Okay, so flip the frame gently so you don't bend the nails that you already put in. Apply pressure from the top. Push it in a tiny bit. And we don't want it to be flushed. And go. Done. Apply pressure. Frame is finito. So what's going to happen is the cloth is going to draw the frame in together because we're going to stretch it and we're going to staple it. So that's going to tighten the frame a lot more. Let's lay down our first layer and put the frame on top. Fabric comes in yards, so it's very convenient. 3 feet for our acoustic panel. It's just the right size. And then we're going to have a 5-foot cut. It could be a little bit shorter, but just in case you just want to cut, you can just do 5s and that will be perfect. So here we go. We're gonna grab the top of the fabric, roll it in. Want to make sure it comes in on the inside, and then you're going to grab the sides and you're going to pull nice and tight to make sure it's even on both sides. And then we're going to go onto the other side. We're going to pull and even out the fabric. You can see it with your hands. You pull that nice and tight, and that 5-footer just lands you perfect to have enough cloth to go on the inside. So now that we pulled on every direction, the fabric is kind of settled nicely in the middle. So what we're going to do is go in a plus sign. We're going to pull the fabric slightly here, put one down, use a good stapler, don't use office staplers, and then go to the other side. We're going to pull, but before you put it down, I want you to pull into plus sign again one more time, and then even things out on both sides, and then pull really firm and make sure that center point opens up really firm. You can give the frame a shake too, just to make sure that cloth is not bunched up. And then we're going to go in a plus sign now, and then just pull again on both ends. I like to do it when I pull on this side. I just put my toes on there. I know I'm a yogi, so I can do a lot of things with my feet also. And then put one on that side. And then I like to shake the frame again. And then put one more. So now we got a nice plus sign. Then we can go back up here. And we're going to pull not only in, but slightly away from the center. So we're not just going to pull down. We're going to make sure we're going to get rid of all the wrinkles here, right? Pull out away from the center and down. Out away from the center and down. And then we're going to go across here. Get a nice straight line. You don't have to overdo the stapler here. Nice and even. Pull tight. And then, again, we're going to come back here and retighten. Moving away from the center. Pull firm. Use your heel of the thumb here, your heel of the hand. Grab the fabric really firm. That's why it's nice to have a little bit extra slack here. Even that 5 foot gives you plenty. I don't like to waste fabric here, but 5 seems to be just enough to give you a good amount of ample space to pull. And then we'll go onto the other side. And let's pull it again. This heel of the hand, moving away from the center. Now we're coming this way. Down and towards the corner. Down and towards the corner. Now don't over pull, and keep checking your work to make sure you're not shifting the fabric too much. For this, as long as it's tight, it doesn't matter because you're not going to see this. Unless this is your only fabric that you're going to use, then I would be very careful. You don't have to go all the way to the end. Again, if it's the only one or your first layer, don't go all the way to the end. And I'll show you why. Apply a good amount of pressure so the staple goes all the way in. You don't want to do a hammer at the end when you can get the job done first hit here. Okay, so pull down firm, and now pulling away from the center to that one. Okay, on the side, see how nice and tight we got in the middle. Now I've done this quite a few times for my studio, so I can move along a lot faster. If this is your first time, you're going to be moving like a snail. So, and it's okay. Just do your job correctly so you don't have to fix it later. So now look, so how tight it got. before you put the other layer on, make sure you wipe all the excess material that's sitting here, some of the little strings, clean it up. You will see them, all these little things show up on the other end. And that's why it's nice to keep the floor vacuum. So instead of doing a nice flush work, which I'm gonna show you later, if this is your first layer and we're gonna do a second layer, don't worry about doing a nice flush corner. What you're gonna do is make sure that you pull nice and tight. So this is even. Put one in there, and then other side. I'll put two on this, on there, and one a little closer in the corner. And then grab your scissor. First go around, finish all of it. And grab your scissor. Again, we're not going to be doing this if it's the only layer. Make sure that you squeeze the corners in like that. And we're going to cut that. Make sure you make a nice cut. Don't go deep. So it's just flushed. You're not going to see this. It's going to go under the second layer. Get rid of that excess. All right. Go around. Finish up the corners. So I cut the canvas to size. If you're not using double layer, it's perfectly fine. So this is the one that you want to pay attention to. Again, we're going to go through it the same way, like a plus sign. Make sure that there are no little strings on the other side of your canvas. Again, it will show. Just do your diligence. Be really good at it. And let's pull right here in the middle. Staple it down. I already measured side to side, but just pulling them in like this, you'll see. Your hands will tell you if you centered the cloth already. See, centered here. So then we're gonna grab the stapler. Same thing. You put one down there. You're gonna pull really firm on this side. Shake the frame a little bit, lift it, and then put it back down. Just to make sure, because canvas stretches a lot more than this material that I use. So you want to have a nice little deep stretch across it, not to overdo it, but just enough so you don't get sag. We put one down. Let's go to plus again, one more time. Shake the frame so you get the maximum stretch. Here, yogi, use your toe right there. Watch my classes on YouTube, Resonate Yoga. Got one there. And that was no joke either. And let's shake one more time. You lift, shake it. And let's go. Look at that, looks pretty good. We'll come back here. Now, same concept. We're gonna go from center out and pulling in. So just don't pull down without pulling slightly out away from the center. Heel of the hand, you get this nice balanced pull. Don't use just your thumb because look how it pulls the fabric just in a funnel way. So instead use your thumb and the heel of the hand. This is experience, my friends. I've already built my studio so many times. You'll see later in the video, I've already got a ton of baffles. I'm just adding more. Okay, now that we got a nice flush on this side, we're gonna repeat. Go to the other side. This is the most important part now because we're really gonna start to shape the canvas. So firm, down, and a little bit to the edge. Now you can put a little bit more staples down because don't do too many apart. Start getting tighter and tighter. Don't go all the way to that corner. We need some opening. I'll show you why. Okay, back to center. Now work our way down this way. And double check your work on the side. Make sure you got a nice flow going. If this is your first time, you're gonna have to be a lot more careful. I'm zipping through pretty quickly, but again, I have experience with this. Leave the corners open. Make sure you got plenty of staples because you're gonna go through a ton of them depending on how many boxes you're gonna make. Okay. Nicely done. Cut smooth. Good. Let's do the corners. Tuck time. Grab a knife. Don't use the sharp edge, which these knives aren't sharp anyway. Use the back end. Pull the canvas, your cloth towards you. Put the knife in about 45-degree angle, like that. And tap it in from that corner and tuck it. And look at that. It's almost on that first round, perfect set. Right now, this staple was a little too close, so it's going to make it harder for me to fold. So I'm going to pull the staple out, and that's why I said not to go too far and too close because we need that room. Okay. So again, pull towards you. And put the back end of the knife 45-degree. Tap on it a couple of times and start to play with it. And bringing it up to flush the corner. That's pretty good. So we could just adjust it a little bit more. And look at that. It's perfect. And you want to make sure that cloth under this is not bunched up. And then we'll grab our stapler. Staple from away from it first. Tighten this area. And then do some finalizing here. Pull some of this extra layer down to the bottom corner. Make sure you're nicely flushed again. Pull and pull to the corner at the same time with your thumb. And you want to make sure this is pretty because you want it to look good. More quick adjustment there. I'm so picky, man. There we go. That done. Look how smooth and pretty. Now some of these lines that you see, this is a part of the canvas. That's how the canvas look is, which I like. All right, let's go around and finish up. Check this out. So if your cloth covered too much and it's hard to get this corner, what you could do is grab your scissor and cut this corner, because we're gonna be able to drop, we're gonna have to be able to just get rid of some of the slack from this corner, because you want your fiberglass to drop easily. See, you need that little space. I know I'm a little OCD, so but practice makes perfect. See, now it drops in, because before it was kind of sticking out. Okay, let's put the hooks on. We're going to use the same bit that we've been using the whole time. We're going to put the hook on the side that's 47 inches long, and this is where the two joints are touching. So we're going to go in about an inch or so. Hold the cloth really firm. It's going to bunch up. I guarantee you it will bunch up. So you got to hold it really firm and do little taps. and make a hole first before you start to press down. I will guarantee you it will bunch up. And there we go. Grab your hook, and you can use a plier or run a screwdriver in the middle of it. If you don't have a plier, you could use your tip of your scissor. Just don't mess it up, and do a handyman trick like that. Now, as this hook goes further and further down, you don't want the bottom of the hook to press against the wood, because then that's actually going to start pushing the hook upwards, which you will lose strength in your hook. So just go enough until you have a little bit of space there, and done. All right, go around. Look at this perfect beauty. Now it's time to go get our gloves, mask, and let's drop the fiberglass. All right, handle with care. Make sure you have your gloves on, and make sure you have your mask on. Put the fiberglass right at the edge, just like that, and lean it back slowly. This box is a perfect fit. So my calculations for this is exact. It should fit like snug jeans. Again, don't be Mr. Cool or Mrs. Cool and say, oh, I don't need gloves. Use a little knife, tuck it in so you don't press the fiberglass. You want it to keep it at 3 inches. That's what you paid for. You don't want to make it 2.5 inches. All right, so put it in slowly. Put the edge in the bottom so you don't break the fiberglass, and then gently press it down. So use the knife as a guide. Tap the corners a little more. Make sure you don't press these 2 edges, because you don't want anything to sit on the cloth. Again, the reason why I made this calculation, because it just snugs this, and the weight of the fiberglass sits on the 1-inch maple, so you will never see sagging over the years. Go ahead, dress it up a little bit more, and voila, it's time to go hang this. All right, so this is where my OCD kicks in. I'm gonna vacuum the edges. If you have an opener to relax the vacuum, you open it a little bit more. The reason why I did that is also because later we're gonna put the lights. That's the trick that's coming up. Later the lights are gonna sit on the back of this. As you can see, my studio's already been treated. I wanted to add 2 more here and 2 more on the other end. And see how I've lowered the baffles about 3 inches. That's gonna give you better sound absorption, because the sound's gonna travel through. It's gonna slow down, it's gonna hit the drywall, and some of it that bounces back, you have that airspace, so it's gonna slow that down. Then it's gonna hit the baffle again. So do your best to give it some space, unless you have really low ceiling. And these guys in the corner, I've tilted them to the side to be able to trap the bass better in the corners. So again, if you have the space to do that, this is a cool technique. So I'll show you how we're gonna hang these. So as you can see, there's a hook, the eye hook's on the frame, and then we have another hook that's on the ceiling. And the back end of this, I'm just pulling it back with 1 hook and a zip lock. So most of the weight is sitting on the top 2, and the back end's being pulled. And behind this cloth, I have the same Roxul. I didn't box them because it would be a waste of material. There's no need because you're not going to see it. But I did wrap it around on that cloth that I told you about. So this cloth is not porous at all. So you don't want all the Roxul to just seep down. So use better material. And this is going to control the base. Again, there's space here in the back. And let me show you on the back side, the studio also. And this is the back wall. 6 baffles. The top 2 are tilted to absorb the base more from that corner. And as you can see, they're slightly pulled away from the wall. And I decided to put 2 more on that end and 2 more on this end. And I was thinking, might as well shoot a video to show you how I made it. All right, let's go get the one that we made and put it up right here, and I'll show you how to mark it. Time to put the panels up. You need a friend, and make sure you're standing on a solid crate, ladder. It's going to take a minute, so you know, have a friend that can help you that has a little bit of strength here. So what we're going to do is flush the frames next to each other, and we're going to press it against the ceiling. So I flush this corner, and you see how it's flushed with this bottom here. Leave a little bit of a gap, bring it in so it's not under. So they're almost making a 90-degree corner together, right? Yours is good. And then we're going to push it against the ceiling. Press it against the ceiling. You're in there? You're good? Now check this out. Instead of getting a marker, let me tap you towards you a little bit more. Now instead of grabbing a marker, Brian, go a little bit more towards this, so flush it to that side. Yes, and then up to your right a little bit. Perfect. So instead of grabbing a marker, all you gotta do is bop, bop, and then you hit that too. Hold it with the center. Hit with the heel of hand. That's already good. And then other side. Done. So what you do is you hold it with the heel of your hand, and you tap with one side. You switch to the center, and you tap it with the other one. And then let's lower it. And voila, you got your indents right there. And let's put this down. For this portion, you want to cover your equipment with plastic or a tarp, because when you drill, you're going to have debris falling down. What I'm going to do is use a vacuum and hold it while I drill, and that works really well. This part I can do by myself, but for the next part, when I'm putting the easy brackets in, then I will need probably both hands, because those easy brackets are a little bit harder to screw in. Here we go. Time to do the other side. Okay, so I pre-drilled these holes with a 3/16. Do the same. They tell you don't need to pre-drill with these easy anchors. You sure do. Make sure you have a good screwdriver, a solid Phillips. Don't use smaller ones. And then put the anchor in. Give it a good tap so it's in there pretty good. You don't need to use a hammer. Most important, again, is to use the proper Phillips, because if you're using a small Phillips, you're going to ruin the thread. And then have your buddy hit the vacuum. There it is. Flush it. And let's hit that one. So I know some of you guys want to get lazy and use a drill. Don't, because the drill's too fast and you're going to ruin the thread. Also, you won't be able to fit it properly if you're building already from an area. All right, the other two. Quick note, it's a lot easier to install the cup hooks on the ceiling rather than eye hooks, because what you could do is run your zip locks on all the eye hooks in your baffles on the ground and on the floor, and then just bring them up while these guys are connected like that. Then you could drop your zip tie on it. It's a lot easier than trying to hold this and run a zip tie. So when I originally installed this, I might have just ran out of the cup hooks, so I used the eye hooks. But again, experience. So definitely use these guys. It's a lot easier to install the baffles.
All right, once you've drilled both sides, then you're gonna put your screw hooks on. All right, so this is the slightly difficult part. Okay, so I have my friend holding the camera so you could see how I'm doing this. Run the bottom and over to the top. And again, with two hands, this is really easy. This stuff is never easy. Never. Just a click. That's it. Just enough for this because we're gonna readjust that. And then other side. Panels are looking great. We're gonna make some fine adjustments. And the best way to do these adjustments are with another zip tie or rope or twine here, pulling them together to flush the edges. And if you need to create more space, you put a little piece of cardboard from above so you can't see it in between to create a little bit more space. So then you're going to go around like a puzzle and play with it until the desired effect, nice and smooth across the whole panels. Use a level for your reference and then go around, slightly adjust your zip ties. Just like tile spacers, make yourself a nice homemade version with cardboard, and I'll show you how to space them. Grab your piece and separate these guys a little bit apart. Grab a fork, a knife. Careful with your cloth so you don't poke it with your fork. And then pop it up. There you go. Nice and flush. I already put another piece there. And push it far enough that you can't see it. It's hard to do it from the top, so you have to do it from below.
All right, and here's the finished product laying on my back, looking at the studio ceiling. Nice even tiles. Time to install the lights. I chose 2 day better 50-foot LEDs, one for the front of the studio, one for the ceiling. The way we're going to install them, we're going to use T-tips. This is a 1 3/4 inch. I will show you exactly how to fasten it because the cloth won't hold the double-sided tape behind this, so that will fall off. So what we're going to do is use the T-tips to fasten it. And as you can see, I didn't get 90-degree corners. We don't need it. You're not going to see it. It's up there. And I'm going to show you how to just curve the corners. Most importantly is just to hold the strip down with the T-tips here. Let's get started. All right, so we're up here now. We're going to put the LED facing up. And when you run these pins, you want to make sure you don't touch the contacts here. You get it close to the light where there's only a little white area, so there's no touching to any sort of contact here. Make sure that you get a little bit of cloth on the other end to be able to run the pin through. So you run the pin on this front half here, get a little bit of a material and then run it over and then pull up the other end and press in. There we go. So now it's fastened. Lightly pull on it and let's get to the corner. Okay, once you get to the corner, and you want to make sure your LEDs face up. This is not rocket science. A little bit of a bend here is okay. No one's, again, going to see it. Keep opening the tape up. Go around the corner, bring it a little bit closer to the edge. Push the tape as far as you can there. And grab another pin. And come all the way. Make sure, again, you're not touching the metal spacing here. And let's go to this corner, get a little bit of cloth, push it up, put the tape under, and run it again into the cloth.
behind it. And push it in. There we go. Now it's held up. And then just bend it a little bit up again. You're not gonna see this. It doesn't have to be a perfect 90-degree angle from downstairs, from below. You're not gonna be able to see it. And then fasten the other side, look up, make sure that again there's no contact here. Pull the other side of the cloth up from the inside to be able to get the pin on. Get the corner here with a little bit of the nose. You just need a tad bit. The nose of the needle, pull up, go on top, and then push it in. There we go. That's the corner, and you can't see it. Let's go all the way around. As you go along, keep pulling on the strip so you get a nice flush sitting on top. No lifting. All the way down. All right, ceiling is done. Let's move to the front. Woo! Time for the front of the studio. Now I could have taken the easy route and tape the back of the light against this wall. It will technically fall behind the insulation and the cloth, but I would like to just do it my way and have the LEDs face the wall. So when I go up there, I don't want to see the light. So I want to see the reflection of the light. So we're going to use the same technique that we use to go around the baffles. If you have hard frames that you made, it's the same concept. You put the strip on the cloth, and then you run this over here and then run it across, and then it will hold it. So now my job is really easy on this part because I don't have a frame. It's a little bit harder with the frame. So I'm gonna run the whole length of this insulation all the way up, and I'll show you later. I'm gonna hit the frames that I have in that corner. So I prefer this look. I don't wanna see these lights flashing in my eye. This goes really quickly right along. Put the pin in on the cloth, go over the strip, pin it back on. Next, very quick, all the way up. Let's make sure the light's still facing the wall. I'm gonna bend my needle a little bit because I have backing. As I told you earlier in the video, if you're gonna tilt your baffles, make sure you close the back. I mean, this one I didn't need to, but I just did it anyway. So there's a whole cloth on the back side, so it's going to be hard for me to get the other side of the needle into the back. So what I'll do is bend the needle and get a little grip, and you want to make sure, I can't see 100%, I want to make sure you don't touch any of the metal. Okay. There we go. That's our first one. It's a little tougher because again, the back end is closed, and I'm gonna bend the needle again. I got the roll tucked into my pants. I'm glad it's low voltage. Yeah, so you don't drop it. If you have help, then someone can hold it, but if you're doing this by yourself, let's go. I'm gonna put one halfway. Did it grip? It did, yes. And here we go, just go around. We are done with the installation, and the studio is looking pretty dope. I love the red color. Puts me in a very creative mood. You can change the colors to white, yellow, orange, green, blue, whatever works for you. But this is looking great. If you love this video, you know what to do. Also, check out my tunes on iTunes, Spotify, Beatport. Would love it. All the links to everything to make your studio look this dope is below. And shoot me some comments regarding the video and the music. By the way, all the music underneath this video is obviously mine too. Enjoy and see you soon.